in the year 2000, about 2.5 years ago. We were away on a family ski trip in Salt Lake City, Utah, at the Deer Valley ski area.
While I was skiing, and I somehow, I don't know the details since I don't remember, hit a tree.
When I got to him, he was basically passed out. He was being given medical attention. The helicopter had already landed probably about 15 yards from where he was, and they were preparing him to be airlifted to Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City.
And I stayed there for a couple weeks, and then went to Franciscan.
I took 2 days, and I flew back to Boston, and I was recommended to 4 or 5 different facilities, and we looked at the 2 that were most highly recommended, and no one's paying me to say this, but there was no comparison. I mean, Franciscan Children's was very children-oriented.
It turns out to be the only solely pediatric rehabilitation, inpatient rehabilitation facility in the entire metropolitan area that could handle a case like Josh's.
Was very warm and welcoming, and instead of being in a room with one professional, we immediately were introduced to Dr. Jeff Rabin and his staff.
When he first came here, we evaluated him as a medical team, made our recommendations, and then we have the whole rehab team take a look at him for a comprehensive inpatient rehab program.
The first time I met Josh, I remember seeing him being pushed down the hallway in the wheelchair, and he was trying to speak, but it was really pretty unintelligible what he was trying to say, and I had read his report already, and knowing the severity of his injury, I was pretty worried about his outcome.
He had such a severe injury, I'm surprised he even survived the acute care hospital.
It was very, very scary. Again, even on a day-to-day basis, in the early 3 or 4 weeks while we were there, it was still not clear whether he was going to be able to walk, whether he was able to function in school, in the real world, at his level.
Josh had a great attitude. He had a wonderful family who was very involved in his care, so that always makes the therapist's job easier.
Well, after 1 week, he was speaking in complete, not just sentences, conversations. He was walking with some help. He was beginning to be able to take care of himself.
Well, I pretty much had to learn everything all over again.
Every day he was making progress and he was doing better while he was here. And like I said, it's partly due to the fact that he had, I'm sure, an inner drive that drove him to excel prior to his injury. And he's a very bright kid, and also he had such a good family support and friend support system that really helps a lot as well.
When he started to make progress day after day at Franciscan, we became pretty excited because the pace was even quicker than what we had initially been led to believe. And it was very exciting. It was exciting to see it in the eyes of the therapists.
He was very kind of aware of the whole process. He wanted to know what were we doing, why were we doing it, how was it going to benefit him. He's like a little junior rehab person.
He would really want to know why we were doing everything, and why was it important that we talked about going back to school, and why was it important that we learned about his diagnosis, and why was it important to plan ahead for different situations that may be difficult for him.
Well, a lot of times, I disagree with the therapist, and I was kind of I don't want to do this and stuff, but it really did help in the end.
You know, when he first came here, he was having trouble even talking, and by the time he left, he was having trouble stopping talking.
Could talk forever.
Chatty.
It wouldn't surprise me if he was in the debate club.
Yep, I actually memorized everybody's name and last name and middle name if it was on their name tag.
It was important for Josh to feel as though he was now able to do everything everyone expected of an 11 and then a 12 and a 13-year-old boy.
I really like to play tennis, play computer, rock climb.
As long as he applies himself and works hard, he could do and achieve anything that he wants to achieve.
Josh is awesome. We are so proud of him.
I knew he was a pretty motivated kid, and I knew he was pretty intense at times, but it was a new inner strength, I think, that we saw.
And we're just so proud of him, and we think he can conquer the world.
I think I read that India used to be a separate continent, and it slowly moved over and it hit Asia or China. And every single year it keeps moving and moving closer, and it forms the mountains. And every year, all the mountains in the Himalayas grow like 2 inches or something.
How's your handwriting?
It's better.
Yeah? Is it good?
It's good.
I heard it wasn't that good to begin with.
It's true. But my dad's is worse.